Hello.
Hey there.
Hey Jen, I created like a post here like for discussions like on the Q&A. If they have any questions, they can post it here so you can let people know.
Okay. Good morning, guys. Thanks for joining. You guys, your cameras and mics are muted by design. We're going to do that for everyone. But you guys, we have about a minute, so we'll just let some more folks trickle in. Hey guys, thanks for joining. We are getting ready to start here. We're just giving a few minutes for folks to trickle on in. I'm starting to see some folks come in. We're just going to give it a few more minutes.
Yeah, let's give about 3 more minutes.
Yeah. while we're waiting, maybe a show of hands. How many folks are already using Copilot or have used it and saw value in the things that you're doing?
Does it count if I raise my hand?
It does count. You should raise your hand. Awesome.
Raise hands mean you have a question.
You can always react with your favorite reaction too.
Yeah.
I'll give people a couple more minutes here to get in. All right, I think we're about there, Gaurav.
Mm-hmm. We can start. I'll be recording it, so they will get the recording anyways.
All right, I'll go ahead and get us started then. So thanks everyone so much for being here. I'm really glad today to connect you to my team and share a bit about what we've been exploring here at Project Made Easy. So today we're going to dive into AI, but not just as users this time. Now we're coming back to you as explorers, and we want to show you how we've been using it to make project management and team management smoother and smarter. So for you today, we put together a couple of short demos that focuses on how a pilot or AI, specifically Copilot, can help with lessons learned and retrospectives. These are two areas that can often get overlooked, but it can be super valuable if we do it right. So what we'll cover is a quick intro into Project Made Easy and our team. We're going to talk about what lessons learned in retrospectives really mean today and how to make them actually useful. And then finally, we'll show you how we can use Copilot to speed up data analysis. That way we spend less time digging and more time acting. Couple of logistics about the meeting. We are recording the session, and we'll make the recording available to you so that you can share my team to your team. Your audio and video is disabled, but we welcome questions. Feel free to use the Q&A section. Gaurav will monitor those questions and answer them as we go. And then at the end of the call, we'll have some time to address some more questions. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about Project Made Easy. We've been around for 18 years helping PMOs and EPMOs implement project portfolio management solutions. Some are like Project Online or OnePlan, if you're familiar with those. We've been a proud Microsoft partner for the past 15 years. We are both a products and a services company. On the services side, we offer things like training, implementation support. We do a lot of custom development to fit unique needs. So we focus on building solutions that support your business processes and not the other way around. Our goal with that is to tailor the technology to fit how your teams work rather than forcing your team to adapt to a tool. And then on the product side, we've built tools that help with things like resource management, cost tracking, and project intake. We have lots of happy customers who've benefited from both our products and our services. The unhappy ones will not be named. Maybe there's a list of those guys somewhere. I don't know. We'll talk to Garv later. I'll give you an example of one of our products. We've recently started our Fluid PPM solution, and this is a full enterprise product portfolio management system. It supports the entire project life cycle from ideation all the way through to completion, and it's designed to work with tools that you already use today. So if you're using Planner or Project Online or Jira, Azure DevOps, it supports both traditional and agile management styles. And just like with our services, we can tailor Fluid PPM to fit your business processes. Because sometimes one size doesn't always fit all. So we make sure we accommodate your team. If you have a unique way of working, we can adapt a solution to fit that. We do have a couple of features that I want to point out in this system that's pretty cool. One of it is our budget tracking detail. It gives you a clear real-time view of where your project dollars are going. And so instead of waiting for end of month reports or digging through spreadsheets, you can see budget performance as the project moves forward. This gives you quicker decisions, fewer surprises, and just better overall control of your costs. And then finally, what's built into Fluid PPM is our resource utilization. It shows it in a time phase view, so you can see who's working on what and when, and it shows across the entire timeline. So you can avoid things like overbooking or like underutilization, things like that. It really helps if you're juggling multiple projects, and then, of course, helps managing cross-functional teams. So with both of these features, it and Fluid PPM, it can help you guys stay proactive, spotting issues early, and making adjustments. So if you're interested in learning more, feel free to reach out to us. But for now, I'll stop talking about our tools and let me introduce you to our team. I'll start with Steve. Steve is our go-to expert when it comes to technical problem solving. So he's spent over a decade working in IT systems and support. He's done everything from launching new systems to figuring out how custom-built applications work. And we do a lot of custom work, so you can see how Steve provides a lot of value to us. At Project Made Easy, he wears two hats. He's both a technical architect as well as a project delivery manager. So he brings a ton of insight from working across all kinds of projects and clients, and he's brought a lot of passion into speeding up our lessons learned process, especially because we're using Copilot. I'm Jen. I'm a certified Scrum professional, and I have over a decade of experience, although I'm only 24 years old, just so you know. That's an important fact to remember. At Project Made Easy, I also wear two hats. I'm an Agile coach and a project delivery manager as well. I help our team navigate Agile as well as deliver projects. One of the areas that I'm passionate about is retrospectives. So I help our teams reflect, learn, and grow. And lately, I've been using Copilot to make that process even smoother. So now that you know a little bit about Steve and I, let me get back to why we're here today. If you are part of a PMO, or if you're a project manager or an Agile team, we all have a need to save time, right? And so that's really the heart of this session. We want to show you how Copilot can help us do just that. And so we're going to show you how to quickly gather themes across lessons learned and retrospective, which will enable us to organize that data into clear, actionable items. That's where we get the value, right? And so the goal then is to spend less time sorting through the feedback and more time actually improving. So I want to know a little bit about where you guys are with these processes. So if you could take a moment, pull out your phones and use this QR code here. It'll take you to a little survey. I want to know if you guys are using retrospectives today. Are you using lessons learned today? Both or neither one of these processes? So we'll spend take about 5 minutes to let you guys respond. And if you don't have your phone handy, you can go to slido.com and then connect using that code there.
You have to click on send before it shows up here. Because I did that last time. I did not click on send. My answer is not showing up, but make sure I click on send.
Garb, if you could watch that Q&A to see if we have any trouble getting to the survey, just to make sure it's working well. All right, I got about 4 replies. It looks like lessons learned is the thing that we're interested in today. I think it would be good to hear both of them. That way you can, maybe you'll want to adopt retrospectives into your processes as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on, and I'm going to turn it over to Steve. He's going to walk us through a little bit about Copilot and then how we approach lessons learned.
Yep. So the AI technology we're using and we'll be demonstrating is Microsoft Copilot. Copilot, it's an AI assistant. It's a large language model. So if you ever use like ChatGPT or Grok or any other LLMs out there, this is Microsoft's solution for it. Typically, when we're talking about AI, as Jen mentioned earlier, we break it down into 3 kind of broad categories. So the first is what we call a user. So they're just somebody that's kind of maybe new to AI. They can kind of use it, but not really a big focus thing for them. They're somewhat proficient, but they're really just using the out-of-the-box methodologies. The explorer tier is the folks that are kind of stepping outside of that box, and they're looking for more specific ways of, what else can I have AI do for me? What else can I have the machine handle for me so that I don't have to? That's kind of the audience we're starting to target here today. And then we have the professional level, the folks that are really experts in AI. Since AI is still pretty new in the grand scheme of technology, there aren't as many people at this kind of pro level. Most people, including those of us here at PME, are typically more in the user explorer level. We're more in the explorer level at this point, but a lot of our clients are still kind of either user or explorer. So why Microsoft Copilot as opposed to some of those other ones that I talked about, like ChatGPT or Grok or any of those other systems out there? Since Copilot is Microsoft's solution, it's directly integrated into Microsoft, including the security systems around Microsoft 365. For most of our clients, when they have an IT organization that handles IT security, when they look at all of the AI models available, Microsoft Copilot is almost invariably the one they choose as being the most secure, and that's often the only one that they will allow inside their organizations. So Microsoft Copilot, it has a lot of the same capabilities as all the LLMs, but it has that built-in security that just makes it way easier to introduce into organizations. So as a Microsoft partner, that's also why we're using it. But even if we weren't, all of our clients are using it. So this is kind of the one we've been focusing most of our efforts on. So now that I've kind of given you an overview of what Copilot is, how do you get to it? Online, there's 2 different versions of Copilot. You can get to the more like personal one at copilot.microsoft.com, and you can get to the broader 365 version of it at the m365.cloud.microsoft. They look very similar. The easiest way to tell them apart from a just visual perspective, the personal one has very generic like recommendation boxes for improve writing, create an image, get advice. It's not going to be very specifically tailored to anything, while the 365 version of it is going to be more tailored. So it's going to ask more specific things like, I want you to analyze this, or I want you to help me with out of office, or something like that. My general recommendation, if you have access to the 365 version, the one on the right, I would recommend using that one. In my personal experience, I've gotten better results from the 365 version than the personal one, but the personal one's not bad. It's just, it's not as tailored to your specific organization or your specific business needs. So it generally doesn't have quite as much depth to it on the personal one versus the 365. So the other way you can get to it is through direct integrations. And as we're talking the direct integrations, we're going to play a little game here called Find Copilot. So first, do you see where Copilot is here in Teams? Yeah, it's not very well hidden. It's just over on the left. So once you access it, it'll show up. The first time you get to Copilot, you may have to click that little ellipsis, the ... to have Copilot show up there. I know some people have had it just automatically appear. Some have to select it the first time, then it appears. Once it appears, it's there. So you're good to go. All right. How about in Microsoft Word? Do you see it here? Yep, again, not very well hidden. You can see in the top right corner, there's a Copilot icon, as well as a box more specifically asking, what do I want to write? That's powered by Copilot. Normally, there is another box that appears above that with recommendations based on what you've written previously. I hid that in this screenshot because it had some proprietary client information. But normally there would be another box up there that would also be generated by Copilot. All right, how about Excel? You'll never spot it here in Excel, right? Again, top right corner has the icon, and then there's this big thing in the middle that pops up and says, start with Copilot. Not very hard to find. All right, how about PowerPoint? Yep, easiest game of hide and seek ever. Again, as with all the other Microsoft products, Copilot shows up in the top right corner. It also gives us the ability when we're creating a new item to create it directly with Copilot. And when you do that, it'll prompt you with this large window that says, hey, give me your template if you have one, and give me kind of a summary of your presentation, and I'll create the presentation for you. From there, you can kind of go through and manipulate it, do whatever you need to. But Copilot is directly integrated, so it's very easy to access. All right, so now that we've kind of given an overview of Copilot, let's start talking about lessons learned. So first, what are lessons learned? So lesson learned is a way to document both what went well and what didn't go well within a project. The intent is that you can learn what you're good at, what goes well in your organization, as well as whatever problems you've experienced, and then learn from them in the future. Normally that's done in a 5-step process. And you can see this on the PMI guide here that you go through, you identify, you document, you analyze, you store, you retrieve. But the real key is that you have to capture it, and then you have to do an analysis on what you captured in order to learn something from it to make it actionable. So what kind of problems do we normally run into with lessons learned? In my experience, we typically run into 3 main problems. The first is you'll look at it and you'll say, well, every project is different. So what I learned from this one isn't going to impact this one. Second item we typically run into is people will look at it and they say, there's just not enough time. I can talk about the work or I can do the work. I can't do both. And then the third issue I've run into is you look at it and you say, well, I'm capturing all this stuff, but nothing ever changes. So why am I capturing it? AI can assist with all 3, but what we're going to be focusing on today is the not enough time part. Normally, for addressing the first issue, it would be kind of a process piece that, or sorry, not a process piece. It's an analysis piece where you look at it and say, well, the project may be different, but the process is similar. Just because it's not exactly the same, that doesn't mean there's nothing we can learn from, or we can't, learn from it. AI can assist that through analytical models to say, well, this part is similar enough that you can learn from this. This part is similar enough you can learn from that. That's a little more complicated than what we're talking about here, so that's not what we're going to be focusing on. The third item, the how to help with the time management part of it, or not. I'm getting myself completely out of order. The third part of it, the nothing ever happens once we've captured the data. Normally that's a process thing. So that's usually driven by not having a specific process for how to use the data after it's been captured. AI can assist with that from kind of a predictive element to say, hey, in the past this happened, so I recommend doing this. Again, that's a little more complicated than what we're looking at today, so that's not going to be covered, but AI in a more advanced environment will be able to assist with that as well. So the part we're going to be focusing on is that one in the middle. There's not enough time. AI can assist by consolidating all of that data that's been captured in the system and then kind of putting it into a more usable, more actionable, more concise format so that we can then learn from it. And that's what our demo will be. All right, so this is our Fluid PPM tool. It is a development environment, so some of the data in here may not be quite as full as normal. But if I'll go into the Alpha Ventures project here, we can see that on the right, there's just general information about a project. And then on Lessons Learned, I can go in and I can see these are the specific lessons that have been captured for this project. We have title, we have summary. If I go into any of them, you can see there's just some general information, kind of key information that has been captured. So this is where we're capturing our data. Now, if I go into Copilot, you can see that this is the lesson learned agent. So this is a custom agent that my team built specifically for this task. Now I can ask it a question. In this case, what I want to know is what's gone well with my projects. So what are the positive lessons learned across all projects? There's a couple things to note in that summary or in that prompt. First, I'm asking for the negative. That's what's indicated by the thumbs up icon. The other thing is I did ask for it across all projects. So if I scroll up here, I can see that the proactive risk management, the first item that comes up, is part of this project. So it does match. The other two, the clear communication, resource planning, those are not part of this project. So I can see a confirmation that it is pulling from all projects, not just the one I'm looking at. So now what if I want to know the inverse? What if I want to know what doesn't go well? So what are the negative lessons learned across all projects? And here we're going to be focusing again on the negative, so just the ones that are thumbs down. The other thing that's going to come into play here is that we do have some key lessons, things that are flagged with that key lesson tag that are part of the negative. So it didn't show up for the positive because we don't have any positive marked as key lessons in our development environment, but we do have some negatives. So if I scroll up here, first I can see the communication issues. First item that comes up, that is related to one of mine, the inefficient stakeholder communication. Second, the resource planning, that's tied to resource allocation. Okay, that's part of this. Regulatory compliance, integration challenges, those aren't part of this project. So I can see that it is still pulling from everything exactly like I told it to. And then if I look at the key takeaways, it does capture under the second one there, this one that I've captured, this inadequate resource allocation, it does match one that's currently in the key takeaways. So this is a way to aggregate just at a very high level what I've marked as key takeaways, but I can also get the full positive and negative list without having to go into every project, export it, the way you might have to with other kind of pre-AI tool sets. So that's how we're using it to aggregate data within our Fluid PPM system for lessons learned. And from there, we can go ahead and start talking about retrospectives. So I'll pass it back to Jen.
All right, thanks, Steve. And so I know a lot of you guys are already using lessons learned, so I hope that is beneficial for you guys. Maybe get some wheels turning on how you might want to use Copilot agents. I do I'm excited actually to go into retrospective since you're not using it, because maybe you'll want to use it for your teams and your processes.
Hey,
So I'll
Steve,
start with,
one quick question. My question is not even like someone asked from here. Can I use this lesson learned, like if I want to, when I'm creating a brand new project, can I ask the agent to say like, hey, based on the description of my project and the details, can you tell me similar lessons learned for the other projects?
I've only used it for aggregation. That's a good question. I'll double check with the team and see. I believe we do have that capability. That falls into the kind of the more advanced functionality that I talked about earlier, saying that it can be used for predictive elements. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if that's been quite perfected in our agent yet, but I know it's something we're working on if it's not fully functional yet.
Cool.
it's all about the data that you're able to capture and point to with the Copilot agent. So bringing it back to retrospective, that was a really good question. Retrospectives are a way to give teams a chance to pause and reflect. So they look at things like how they work together. They look at the tools they use and the processes that they follow. And the goal is to adapt and improve. And this is part of the agile mindset of continuous improvement. And so the way it works is each iteration, the team will get together for a meeting and then they brainstorm, similar to lessons learned, what went well and what didn't. And then everyone writes their thoughts down. Um, then they capture action items to help improve in the next iteration. So if you're a scrum master or an agile coach, your role is to guide the team by organizing the conversation and making sure everyone has a voice. The key difference between lessons learned and retrospectives is that retrospective is very team specific. It can involve project work, but mostly it's centered around the team itself and how they can get better and what things are within their means to improve. So that's the big difference there. And we get value out of retrospectives if we are able to turn that reflection into action, similar to lessons learned, right? So after we gather that feedback, the next step is to identify action items that are specific. And so we want them to be clear and focused, right? And then they need to be measurable. We want to know if we're making progress. We want them attainable. We want it to be realistic, something the team can actually do. And sometimes, but not all the time, we want them to be time bound so that we can use deadlines to keep us accountable. And then once we have those actions, we track them over time. So that's where measurement comes in. They look at things like team velocity or quality improvements, reduce blockers. These things help us see whether the changes we're making are actually helping, and it gives us a chance to adjust if they're not. So retrospectives isn't just about talking, they're about improving. Um, Here's an example of a tool that we use to capture retrospectives. Now, initially, it may involve the use of many sticky notes and pins. And today that still happens, but as teams adapt, they begin to use tools to make retrospectives more efficient, right? And what you're looking at is our tool. It's Azure DevOps. And so we capture our feedback here in our team tool. You can use things like Jira or Trello. And by using tools, it helps us with a faster setup, quicker collection of feedback. It has things like grouping. You can vote on the topics to help streamline the conversation. And so all of this just means that we're spending less time on admin work and more time having the meaningful conversations, which then gives us the value from the retrospective. Now, Copilot is another tool that we can add to the toolbox, and it can be a really super powerful one because it will help speed up the process even more by assisting with that theme detection, right? So, um, One thing I want to point out, though, is that efficiencies should never come at the cost of safety. So if you're practicing retrospectives, if you're an Agile coach or a Scrum Master, we want to make sure that the retrospective data stays within the team, and Copilot can be used in a way that respects that boundary. We can keep the feedback private and team focused, and not something that gets automatically shared up. So now I want to go ahead and get into my demo where I'm going to show you our retrospective tool, and I'm going to look at how Copilot agent is configured so that it looks into my retrospective data and it can summarize themes for me. And I'll tell you how that is valuable when you're coaching a team. So what you see here is my Azure DevOps board, and it has a retrospectives component. And from here, I can create many retrospective boards. So here I have 4 of them. It's a dev environment, but I pulled in some real data so we can have some actual scenarios of things that people may type in. And so I can see I have 4 retrospective ceremonies that we've done, and we've collected what went well, what didn't. For this, I'm going to just focus on the what does not work well column. And what I would do as a Scrum Master is maybe I would go in here and I look across all my retrospectives and kind of read through card by card, column by column, and I would want to see what are some themes that I can identify. Like, what are the teams saying that are not going well? And are they continuing to say that in future retrospectives? And as I looked through this manually, two of the things that I identified was teamwork and communication. And then I have stuff like this right here. So this is actually a really good example of something that you collect from your team. And what usually happens is in the retrospective, you talk through that item, but the Copilot isn't going to know what this means. So if you speak through that, it would be good to go ahead and fill in the card more so that your Copilot agent can pick it up. But for now, it's not going to get returned in any of my questions because it doesn't have much. So I would, and again, even manually, it wouldn't help me, but all of this data, I'd have to go through individually and find themes. So what I learned by looking at them is I could have some issues with teamwork and communication, maybe some process issues. And that would take me a long time to look across 4 retrospectives, but what if I have 6 months worth of retrospectives or a year worth of retrospectives? I'd have to look at them individually. So you can see how manual that process is. Now, so introducing Copilot into this process, I will instead avoid however many hours it takes to sift through that. And I'm just going to use, this is a pre-configured question, and it says, what are the most common problems Agile teams have discussed during the retrospectives? And so it'll only include things that are in my board. I'm going to hit go. And what Copilot is doing is it's reading a custom table that we created to collect that retrospective data. It's not looking at things on the internet. It's only configured to look at my board. And it's going to summarize across retrospectives what are some of the themes that we're seeing. And if you read through, you'll see some of the things I told you I found manual, which is like communication gaps. There's a few process things in here. I see that one that popped up for timesheet reminders. And then we talk more about communication here. And then further below us in teamwork. But I had to go back and like look through all of the retrospectives manually, where it took me, I don't know, like a couple seconds to click and return a summary of what it would have taken hours to find. So as a coach, I would look at this and say, all right, so, my team has identified communication and teamwork specifically between developers and testers. That's a problem, and it's great that they recognize that. But now I would ask myself, well, what have they done already to solve these problems. So I'm going to type a manual question and I'm going to ask, what are some of the action items they've come up with? And not only do I want to know what action items they come up with, I want to know which ones are specific to the problems that they've identified. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go, and then it'll search. And again, it's looking at that table, and what I get back will be items that were listed across all retrospectives in the action items that are applicable to the issues that were summarized. And then it spits it back. Again, this would be something I'd have to manually go look for in all the columns and all the retros, but here it just spat it back rather quickly. And as I start to read through, I can see where they're addressing communication problems. And then further down, you might see where they're talking about teamwork things. And so as a coach, I look at these and evaluate. So what is my next step for coaching, right? What does the team need to get better? And they've identified action items. Here's one. They said, I want to ensure that changes are communicated to all team members. This would definitely solve one of the issues that they're saying doesn't go well. The problem is they're saying it doesn't go well, and they've said it multiple times across each sprint. And so what I'm not seeing as a coach are specific, right? It's not clear or specific, and it's just really saying an outcome. And so that's the next step, right? And so I can take this back to my team, and what I might do is have an entire retrospective that just looks at the Copilot feedback and say to the team, hey, great job. We have these issues. You can see we've had them across multiple sprints. And we've identified action items, but more so as outcomes. So now, team, what can we do specifically to ensure that changes are communicated? And so this just gives them a better, like it sums up what they were already thinking and gives them the space to then create more specific solutions. And then you'll see the team improve. So you can hopefully you can see how that would benefit a coach or a team. Even if you're looking at lessons learned in this matter and you want to coach your project teams on how to actually get that value, you can do a similar kind of deal. And so I can just look through all of these and develop a plan for coaching. All right, so that is our demo. I'm going to go ahead and move over to a few resources that we have. So if you're interested in learning more about Copilot, we have some links out here that will help give you some guidelines on the use of agents. You can learn more about the different types of AI agents. You can also learn how to build AI-driven agents yourself. If you're wanting some information about lessons learned, it sounds like you guys are already there, but PMI is always a good place to start. And then if you're wanting to incorporate retrospectives into your team processes, I recommend starting with Scrum Alliance. They have some free articles and videos that help you learn about, well, what is retrospective and some good practices for running a successful retrospective. And then finally, if you're interested in talking to us, if you want to know more about how you can use Copilot or how to build those Copilot agents, information about Fluid PPM, you can feel free to contact any of us directly or visit our website. I'm going to go ahead and pop over to Gaurav, and he can tell you a little bit about what's upcoming for Project Made Easy.
Thanks, Jen and Steve, for great presentation. Just quickly bringing up our Fluid PPM solution is at the last stage of getting approved at the Microsoft App Source. It is approved. We're doing some final testing, so it should be available there. As Project Made Easy, we just achieved our Microsoft designation status as App and Data Innovation Partner. And we also like doing a lot of app in a day sessions, Copilot in a day session. We finished one of our Copilot in a day session yesterday with Microsoft with about like 35 people for a full day session of learning how to use Copilot. And we are working with customers, or if anybody is interested, we are very happy to provide them a free Copilot consultation on talking to them about their scenarios, how they can use Copilot. If they have any questions on Copilot, we can answer. We are more than happy to help you guys out. Thank you guys for attending the session. If you have any question, feel free to connect with us. Jen and me and Steve connect us with on LinkedIn. We will send us at the end of this meeting, we will send the recording and we will send up an email with our contact information. So thank you guys again. If you have any question, we have a couple of minutes left. If you have any questions, let us know, raise your hand and I can unmute you and we can answer your questions. Yeah, if you raise your hand, I can basically unmute you. That's 2 hands.
Look like Manny had a question.
Yep. Hello. Oh, I did unmute it.
Hey guys, thanks for organizing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yep.
you, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed the bulk of this because I had some conflicting meetings. So I'll certainly listen to the recording. But a quick one, as far as your services or your solutions are concerned, does it apply to? And I'm sure this is probably going to be answered in a recording, right? But I just want to ask off the bat because I've got customers asking about things. Does your solution extend towards on-prem as well, or say project server in the cloud in an IaaS? Does it apply to project online? So easy softball questions there, Gaurav. So please go ahead and answer.
Um, we can pull in the data, which we will have to use for the Copilot portion. We will have to bring it up to the Copilot uh, learning machine. And if they have like I'm not sure, and you know better than me, Emmanuel, on the side, like, can you pull in the data from on-prem, like with Gateway to the Copilot? Microsoft Copilot, and can that be used as part of the um, solution for answering the questions? We're not sure yet. We haven't tried that yet. For some reason, we got
Okay, so
disabled.
the gist of this Copilot then, Gaurav, is it's on, if I were to guess, this is on Planner, basically.
Yes, it's on Planner and it's using the Dataverse at this point. So even not the Planner. So the lessons learned we have is our Fluid PPM solution has like a section for lessons learned. And it uses the data from lessons learned, the agent that we have built in our own custom agent. It pulls the data from there. And the retrospective too is Jen, where is the data stored on that retrospective?
Yeah, we're pulling our data from Azure DevOps and sticking it in a Dataverse table. And so our table was designed so that the Copilot agent can read it.
Gotcha. All right, thanks for the info.
Yeah.
Back to you guys.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay, if not, then thank you guys for attending the session. Really appreciate your time. Get 12 minutes of your day for you guys. So awesome. Thank you guys again. Oh, there is some question from Clifford. Let me unmute him. Hey, Clifford. I think you had a question. I unmuted your mic, but I think you have to unmute it.
Yeah, hi, sorry, I just pushed the wrong button.
No, no
Just to
worries.
say a thumbs up rather, thank you.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. I thought you had a hand
Cool, man.
raised. So it's like,
Cool.
I know I
Thanks
do
a
that
lot.
most of the time too.
All right, bye.
Thank you
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Mhm.